Well, anyway, Jade, welcome to Unedited Space, and the name kind of sums up what it's all about, meaning that it's normally in life we edit the information we share, we say the right thing, the appropriate thing, which to fit in with social norms or to fit in with the rights and wrongs of society. But as we can see, that the conversations on the planet aren't quite getting to the level that we need to be addressing the real issues that we're facing. So I've called it Unedited Space to encourage conversation, just to go, at least let's start getting further than we normally go, maybe being, busting out that more real conversation and taking it to that level where, that inspires others to, stop editing themselves and start just learning to have the courage to be more honest and real and be themselves effectively, rather than thinking we need to be anything in particular. So really there's no exact rules. Obviously you can talk about anything that you do. And the nature of it. I might ask some questions. You can ask me any questions you like. My background is all in effectively, even though I've got a background in business and marketing and advertising, I've also been a radio announcer, but for the last 18 years it's predominantly been in the field of human behaviour and animal rights. It's where I put all my time and effort. And so you can ask me anything. I've written a book called The Insanity of Humanity, which is my attempt to explain why the world is the way it is and why we would somehow destroy our own planet and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So really there's not too many rules. So I don't like overly guarding it, and that's why I'm trying to do something a bit different here, where it's less, trying to make it less interview-like and more like just two human beings on planet Earth having a conversation. But I'm more than happy for people to talk within the realms of what it is they're doing with their work and also encourage conversation beyond that as well.
All right, sounds good.
So maybe to start with, if you could just explain to anyone listening, who you are and what you do, and then we'll just sort of jump in and take it from there and see where we go.
Okay. Well, my name's Jade Tornquist. When you're asking what I do, I gather you're talking about in regards to veganism. Are we talking about that?
No, well, anything you like, really. Like in terms of your life and what do you put your work and effort into, whether it be to do with veganism, animal rights, or beyond that, or just so it really doesn't matter. So just to give so I'm not limiting it to animal rights or veganism at all. It happens that a lot of the people I speak to are vegans and animal rights people because. And the reason for that is not because I'm being biased. They just seem to be more keen and have more to say about the truth of the world. Seem to be in less denial about the truth of the world because they're protecting less in themselves. So I'm not deliberately targeting that, but it does seem to end up being that way at the moment. So I'm happy to talk to anyone, obviously, but I'm not going to avoid abuse and cruelty on planet Earth. That's if someone wants to talk to me, then they're going to have to face that side of life as well. So. So look, so far away on whatever that is and whatever you'd like to say, really.
Okay. Well, I've got a background in nutrition, and I originally, years ago, I used to work in the weight loss industry helping all people. And bit by bit, as I started to evolve as a person and started to do more research on health and nutrition, I started to take more and more interest into the plant-based nutrition. And I started to look and say, hey, there's something in this that I've been missing and I've been giving my clients. And bit by bit, I decided, well, I'm going to delve more into this. And my daughter at the same time was studying animal studies at TAFE. And she came home one day and said, Mum, watch this. And we sat down and we watched Earthlings together. And that sort of changed absolutely everything. I said, oh, my goodness, I had no idea. You shut yourself off so much from the world as to what's going on, and you sort of got your head in the sand, and then all of a sudden this sort of confronting footage is put in front of you, and it's like, wow, what am I going to do with this? And from that moment, I said, I've got to make changes to our lives. And I'd always had that plant-based nutrition niggling in my mind as to I wanted to go down that avenue. So bit by bit, I decided I am no longer going to teach anybody how to eat an omnivore diet. I said I just cannot do it. If because like that, myself, my partner, and my daughter, we just said, that's it, no more meat, no more animal products, nothing. That's it. That's the end of us. And it was about a week before we were going overseas on a 6-week holiday. I mean, of all the times to decide to change your diet as well as your lifestyle, it was, before we were going overseas. And that was a bit of an adventure because, of course, we were very new to, the whole what you can and can't have and this and that. And so that was a bit of a, oh gosh. And so we went on our holiday and we were like, okay, that's it. And we stuck with it, and we were, and I was never going back, and I never have gone back from that day. And when I come home, I said, that's it. I'm going to start changing my business over and start changing it into plant-based nutrition. Obviously, it did cost me quite a few clients, and so I ended up, now I have to do other work as well to supplement my income. So I work in mental health as well, but I wasn't going to go against my ethics. Once I'd made that decision, I said, you know what, this is the right decision for me. Can
I just jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
Is it fair to say then it wasn't a decision? Because I see a decision as choosing between multiple options in life, which is sort of what, we as human beings are a bit decision obsessed, which is choice obsessed, really.
Yep.
The thing I find, like, from the way you're talking and the way you hear a lot of people that come across, this awakening to not, being part of abuse and cruelty in their own personal life, I think it goes beyond choice. And I think it's just a truth that one finds in themselves as opposed to a decision one makes. Would you feel that it was more just a truth? I mean, that it's not like you could have gone, well, I could go here or I could go a little bit here or maybe there. Was it more like, no, this is the way? Meaning there's no choices in effect.
Well, there wasn't a choice really for me, because if I was to go any other way and say, okay, it's all right for me to continue teaching people, but I'm not doing it myself, as far as I'm concerned, I was still doing it. And it was a huge thing because, I mean, my partner made the decision, and for him it was a decision. For me there was no choice. So that's that different thing you're saying there, because him it was like, oh my goodness, what is she doing? Whereas for me I was like, yeah, that's it. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. For me it was, there's no other option. That's the only option.
Just let me quickly, the audio from your mic's picking up some shuffling. Is it
okay?
Is the laptop on something, or are your hands possibly touching something?
It could be me.
Okay.
It could be me. How's that now?
That's clearer now, yeah. So whatever it was, it's just sort of taking away from your speaking, that's all. So that's clearer, yeah. Yeah, so obviously a powerful, profound awareness shift for your life. So has it changed your entire life quite dramatically, the nature of your life, your connections, your work, your family? Is it, and what has that done to you as a person?
I think you go through phases when you become vegan. I went through a huge grieving process, and I could feel myself at one stage becoming extremely bitter and angry and lied to, and all those different feelings that you go through. But once you start to overcome that and you say, it's not that you accept what happens in the world, but it's something in you that says, you know what, if I want to make changes to what's going on, let's change my own world and see what ripple effect I can put in place in front of me. And when I started to make that mind shift and say, you know what, let's not hold on to this anger, let's move it forward and try and make a difference, things have started to really, really change for me. I feel I'm a happier person. And in a bizarre way, the reason I'm happier, it's not because of what's going on in the world, it's because I feel I'm making a difference in this world. I feel I'm helping so many other people in this world make positive changes. I mean, in a perfect world, would be able to change a lot, but you know, I've learned acceptance, to learn exactly where we are, where I am, and what I can do. That's been a huge thing for me, and that didn't happen overnight. I was very angry. I went through a phase really where I didn't like anybody, you know, because it was just so much. I think it's so much to take on when all of a sudden this truth sort of comes into your face, the world that you were 1 minute living in, and then all of a sudden you just go, wow. And I think once you open the doors, you allow yourself to open the doors further and further, and you say, oh my God, how much more lies and deceits out there? And
let alone, if I could just jump in, let alone how many lies and deceits that we were living in our own mind. You know what I mean? There's the lies and deceits of society, but they end up being our lies and deceits. You know, sure, we can blame who put them in there, but it's our responsibility to live in our own truth. And that, I think that's the amazing thing, to look at and think, well, what else am I missing? You know what I mean? If I could miss something as obvious as the abuse of others, you know, to think, you know, like I think, was I actually putting the flesh of a dead body in my mouth? Like willingly and knowingly, when that's a sentient being that has a person inside it, has feelings, has a mother, and to think people are manipulating their lives purposely to murder them so we can put dead flesh in our mouth and enjoy that and smile and laugh with our friends. To come to terms with that is quite extraordinary. And I've had a similar effect on me, where it blows you out of the water with like, well, what else is going on? And it inspires you to understand deeper and deeper and deeper, you know, into the truth of life, into the truth of our minds, and what allows us to miss something so clearly obvious. You know, like I loved animals my whole life. I was one of those extreme kids that was like, see an insect on the road and think, oh, someone might tread on it, and pick it up and put it in the bushes. And even despite all that, you know, that anything in my face that I saw, I would help kids being bullied, I would save animals, and I'd do it with strength and courage, and then get on with my life, and I was a happy kid. And then I'd be going to the shop with my father, where we go buy a dead body for dinner of a chicken and eat it. And it is mind-blowing to think that our minds can not instantaneously put that together. So this is why I think it's the animal situation, and facing it exposes how much we as a species have to wake up. You know, we really need to get it together and start facing the truth of how deluded we are, how edited our realities are, and how much we need to face the truth of it. You know, the effects that this has on, because I think, you know, in the main, most people see it like you're telling them what to do or putting something horrible on them, because obviously, you know, our identity is created from our lifestyle as much as anything else. It's not just about what we think of ourselves as a person, it's everything we partake in develops our identity. And of course, to ask people to stop eating animal products is like taking away 99% of their life almost, because nearly everything has animal product in it. This is why the vegan journey is an intriguing one. So I guess it's just more bringing out more and more about the profound effects of this. And so I think people need to see that this is a wonderful thing, a beautiful thing, and it's not taking away. If anything, it's you're gaining so much in your heart and your soul and your mind, and strength, courage. Your compassion opens up, like you said, new doors, and then you look through another door and another door, and it sparks off a growth in our potential as a human being that otherwise it appears not to happen. And most people, they stick with their routines and their addictions, and you can see they just deteriorate slowly but surely. Their thinking gets smaller and smaller, and then they get older and more fearful, and they just sort of shrivel away and pass away off this planet. Whereas I feel this journey is affording the opposite, the opportunity to grow right throughout your entire life and to keep becoming wiser and bigger and stronger and all that kind of thing. So I guess maybe I'll just chuck in there a question then, rather than trying to work out what we were talking about. So with your family, obviously they've jumped in on board with you. That must make a big difference, because quite often I hear it's the opposite, where someone feels completely isolated and no one else wants to hear about what's going on. How was it that your whole family kind of united in this, you know, facing the truth of
Well,
what's
when I
going
say
on?
my whole family, my son, who is 20, he isn't vegan.
Right.
I would love for him to be. He did actually say to me the other day, which was really amazing. We were out, and the week before he'd gone to the zoo, and he knows I'm so anti-zoos. And he said, you know what, Mum? He went with his girlfriend and took the niece and nephew, and he said, you know what, Mum? I was in the zoo and I was listening to your words. And he said, you know what, Mum? They are prisons. He said, I never realised. He said, and all I could hear you saying is, Mum, they're prisons. He said, I've been thinking more and more and more, I have to start making changes to my life too. So you never know what you say to people, when they are going to have those light bulb moments. And
That's
for him,
right.
he was watching the lion pace in the little cage, and he said, I felt so sorry for him, Mum. He's in this little cage and he's just pacing. I said, it's dreadful.
Mm.
I said it leads them to, mentally, how it affects them. It's just horrible. You think how we would feel in this little 4x4 cage, pacing by yourself. They're lonely as lonely. And when they're supposed to be in these huge jungles. And he said, yes, I know. So that's, fingers crossed, that's my dream, is to get my son there as well.
Yeah.
But for my partner and my daughter, well, my daughter has been an ultimate animal lover, probably similar to your story, her whole life. She's from age 3, when she's been able to talk, she's always said she wants to do something with dogs or animals or, everything. It's always been around animals. And she's doing a traineeship at present it's a force-free dog daycare centre, and she loves it there with all her dogs and whatever, and she's studying animals, doing animal studies. So she was the one who pushed in the earthling. So for her, she was ready to sort of make that change.
Yeah.
And I was more on the nutrition point of view, no connection at this point in time with the animals. I'm very lucky. I have a supportive partner, and he has seen me go through a million transformations with different health and nutrition over the years, and he tends to go along for the ride. He has, however, he's always loved animals. He grew up with horses and whatever, but never thought anything of he grew up with his family being horse trainers, but never had any thought to the cruelty sort of side of it. And it's amazing for somebody like him who grew up with, racing and all that kind of thing. For him, when all that stuff came out about the greyhound industry and everything, he shut it all out of his life. He said, you know what, I can't stand this. It's just everywhere. So for him, it's been a big awakening too. And I think I'm so lucky. And even my daughter says the same, because she's only just turned 18. She was 15 and a half when she went vegan. She had kids film her food like she was some sort of weirdo at school. So that was a big thing, And luckily she's strong. They were sitting there with their pies, parties, junk food, whatever, and she was sitting there with a beautiful dish. You know how lovely vegan food is. And it had all salad and it was all nutritious. And she said, you know what, guys, you can film me, you can ridicule me, but I'm eating healthy food and I'm not contributing to any animal cruelty. And I was so proud of her when she came home and told me that.
Yes.
And that's a huge thing for, a teenager to go through. Bullying is horrible. And she had stood so firm with her ground, and she's recently just started a YouTube channel where she's just promoting what she eats and what vegans do in a day and that sort of thing. So I'm very proud of her and her commitment to her vegan life. She always brings animal liberation books into her staff room at work. She's had a couple of friends become vegan, like just through her and her little postings. And she never puts anything harsh in your face. She just puts little, subtle things on her Facebook page and, subtly, just shows the different food and whatever she has. So she, in her way, she's making her difference. And bit by bit, I think she's going to become bigger and bigger in what she's doing. She's now started to attend a few protests and stuff like that too. So she's really starting to delve into the vegan community. And I think that having your family so involved in it, when for me, I just immersed myself into vegan living. To me, there was no other way to live. Once I knew the truth, I just said, this is the way to live. I devote my life to veganism. I run my social media pages. I run food and nutrition pages, on social media to help people to be able to change their diets. I mean, that really is the biggest thing for people, changing the diet. I mean, people can change their shoes, you can change your clothes, those kind of things, but actually changing your whole dietary is a big thing for people, because they say, what are you going to eat? And they have this expectation that it's just going to be lettuce and carrots, and they don't realize there's this whole world of different cuisines and there's nothing that you can't have. So I'm very, very blessed. I have my family involved. I've worked with many people who don't have their family supporting them, and I think it's extremely hard. I think for me, being an adult, though, it's a lot easier. I think for teenagers, and more teenagers are moving into this lifestyle, I believe, than my generation plus. It's, the 18 to 25-year-olds are just amazing. They're just coming through. They're opening their eyes. They're just saying, yes, we just don't want to be a part of this, which is fabulous. But them not having support of their families must be so hard, because, my daughter knows now how to make all her own food, but when she was 15 and a half, she didn't have that opportunity. She didn't have parents, she didn't know, so she had me teaching her, look, let's have this, let's have that, and whatever. And having the opportunity to have a mother supporting her is a big difference to those kids that don't, and have parents saying, you're going to die if you eat this way, the talk that people have. So for her, she's been very lucky, and she's really realised that, as she's watched other friends get very stressed because they've wanted to change their lifestyle and their parents are saying it's too expensive, or it's this, or, the typical reactions of a lot of people in society when they don't understand this lifestyle.
So why do you think it is, though, that, just like when we're brought up, we're told by teachers, government, society, they hold up this banner of truth and honour, and the whole legal system, they judge you if you do something wrong because they see it as having a lack of integrity. And you see in the media, and they'll carry on about, how could that person do that? How could they do this? So there's all this high and mighty behavioural stance that's put upon us. And the strange thing is, when you grow to become exactly what they're saying, why do you think it is that we live in a world where you're actually turned upon as if you are the weak link? Because, in nature, and it is an unfortunate part of nature, so it's not just human beings, but all living beings will tend to attack the weak one in the group, and that's often the case. It's like to weed out the strong for survival reasons. Now, it would appear that society's trying to get rid of the vegans, in a sense, and you can see that with the meat industry and all their advertising and the way people, and it's like I started up a site called Human Vegan Rights because I felt that vegans in society have no rights. Where suddenly you become a vegan, you're good to go for jokes. If you watch morning shows, news morning shows, and there's any topics, they'll laugh about animal rights people and as if we're ridiculous and stupid. And so, there's social standards about how we're allowed to treat each other. But when you're a vegan, for some reason, all the rules come off and you're allowed to say what you like to them and be rude and whatever. So why is it seen as a weakness, do you think? Why are they trying to, because they're only attacking us. The obvious thing is to say, well, we're a threat to their lifestyle. But we tend, but the truth is we're not. The truth is this is going to be an enhancement to the human species, an enhancement to the longevity of the human species, the survival of the planet, the survival of other species, to actually live with respect and goodness in your heart, which feeds strength and purity and all sorts of wonderful things, and let alone the health benefits of eating a plant-based diet. So why is society in the main trying to attack us from your point of view? Why are we seen as a weakness, a flaw in the system?
I think human beings, don't like change for a start. People don't like change. People are quite content to be living in their little bubble. And when you threaten their bubble, so to speak, by forcing in, and they see it as forcing. I don't believe it's forcing, to speak the truth. I mean, anyone can tell me the truth on anything they like, and I can accept it if it's the truth. But when they are in their bubble and they're hearing you say, you know, this cruelty is what's happening. This is what it's doing to our environment. You know, this is what it's doing to your health. This is what it's doing to the animals. This is the they don't want to hear, because that affects their own personal bubble. And once you start to delve into that personal bubble and they actually have to accept what's happening, then they have to stop and think, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to change. People don't want to change. Change is, for people, one of the hardest things. You know, and people, for me, I understand that if you want to change, you have to change yourself from your roots. And when I say your roots, how you think, how you feel, how you behave, how you act, it's much more than just saying I'm just changing, you know, what I wear and, you know, what I eat. It's far more than that. And I think when we threaten their culture, and it is a culture, the meat eat. I mean, I was just in the supermarket just before, and I went to pick up a pasta sauce, and I looked, and as you do, you check the labels. It was a pasta sauce, for goodness sake, and it had milk in it. What's with that? So that's how big of a, you know, it's culturally so, it's just so ingrained into us that the animal products are just everywhere. And when we threaten that change for people, that, you know, what they've always had on Christmas Day, what they've always done at Easter, what they've always done at birthdays, it's all these things that we're threatening. We're threatening their actual lifestyle, and people don't like it.
Well, why do you think it's ended up that way in the first place, though? Why have we created a lifestyle where the one that we're defending is the cruel one? That's the part where it gets interesting. You know what I mean? It's like the option to be kind and compassionate has always been there, but it would appear that for whatever reason, the way we're built, the way we're made, the way the human program works, is that cruelty and abuse is an acceptable part of society when it's not coming upon us, of course. That's when they get all like cry like little babies. As soon as they get one little bad word their way or a little injury, suddenly it's like, oh no, I can't cope. And you're cold as ice when it comes to the suffering of other living beings. So it is that way whether we like it or not. And yes, we can observe that humans don't like having their lifestyle taken away. But why have we created that lifestyle? Why have we created a lifestyle where we accept?
David, this is just breaking up.
The reason I'm asking this is because we don't understand, right? We're just going to keep battling against what is. Whereas I think we need to get a deeper understanding within ourselves as a species as to why we've ended up like this in the first place. Because it's nothing new. You know what I mean? Like at school, it's the way we bully animals is you know, the way that the tough guy would bully all the kids at school that were weaker, or the ones that didn't want to partake, or whatever. Anything on the outside gets attacked, and animals are obviously put in that category. So now vegans are joining the animals in a sense, so we get attacked as well. So anything outside a normal human, which would appear to be not a particularly decent one, is the norm. So obviously nature's built us to be that way, deliberately, you know, for survival reasons, or we wouldn't be. So we're trying to change the nature of the beast in many ways.
Do you think it's a lot to do with programming? I mean, we are programmed from birth,
yes,
to believe that we actually need animal products to survive. We are programmed. And that programming, it's pretty big programming to have been indoctrinated to believe that since birth, so to speak. I mean, as you grow, until I became vegan, I can't remember a time in my life animal products weren't a part of my life. And it's normal. We think it's normal. We think it's necessary to survive. And I think because people believe it's so necessary to survive, even though, I mean, you only have to Google plant-based nutrition and it's all out there now. In 2016, I mean, we're not in the 80s anymore.
It's everywhere.
We've got knowledge at our fingertips.
Yes.
But people are still, am I going to survive? Am I going to have enough protein? Am I going to have enough calcium? All these different things. I don't think in the main I mean, yes, there are cruel, sick, disgusting human beings who are happy to see severe cruelty to animals. But then I guess you get those people who I call Switzerland. They sit on the fence. They don't really like animal cruelty, and they're, I suppose, your regular, people that live what we call normal lives, and they don't like to think about animal cruelty, but they close their eyes so hard because they don't want to have to think about it, because they believe, well, how would I live without having it? How would I live if I wouldn't be able to go to McDonald's on a Saturday night? These kind of things for people. Yeah. And because I don't want to believe that all humans are cruel. And that's taken me a long time since I've become vegan to be able to get that mindset, because to believe that then I was cruel,
But what are they? Like, you may not want to believe that, but what is the truth? What is the truth? Maybe we are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get into, challenging beliefs, because I think we got to sit in the truth. And maybe we are innately cruel. Maybe we're innately selfish. Maybe we really don't care too much about anything but ourselves. Like if a more advanced species came down and observed us, I don't think they'd want to hang around for too long. If they could watch, like we look like nutcases. Seriously, like complete the stuff that we do, let alone what we do to animals. Our obsession with ourselves and the way we live, and the fact we can barely communicate with each other. Most marriages and relationships aren't founded on anything real. Most people don't connect with their children. This is unfortunately the norm. And in the middle of it all, we're just running around like crazy things, still having wars, for goodness sake, with different cultures, still fighting over religion, fighting over, capitalism versus communism. Like it's insane, like, because we're all just people. So it would appear innately we just are addicted to the fight. And maybe we needed to have that quality to survive when things were really primitive, and that's, life probably was very, very tough and ruthless at a certain point in the evolution of mankind. But it's almost like those qualities are still manifesting in today. And as innocent as we may see that, Jane next door, she doesn't really hurt anything. She's okay to her dog, she's not a bad person, but she eats meat, and you showed her the videos and she goes, yeah, but I love my meat and whatever. I think, if we were truly kind, would we not just straight away change? Would we not, given the opportunity? Because kind people do exist, but if given the truth, they will follow that truth very quickly if it's exposing that there's cruelty attached to their actions. But most people don't. Otherwise, this wouldn't be so slow. Because like you said, information's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, it's like we really are trying to shift something that's been in existence for a long time. And I don't think we've changed as such. I think it's been exposed now. I think the truth of us as a species, can you hear me? Yeah. The truth of our species is got the spotlight on it now. Yeah. So look, ultimately, this is about us, getting real about what we are, including ourselves. I think we, just because you and I can become vegan and see the cruelty, if we can't be honest about the truth of our own humanness and what lies within us, then we're not going to progress forward. Because I think the default mode of what we are as a species is not going to cut it anymore. And to defend it is just ludicrous. But part of the program is to defend what is. So we've got this funny phase where we're trying to defend something that's becoming very obviously sick and ugly. So it's a weird phase of humanity to watch human beings defending really stupid behavior in the face of, as there's so many avenues to this. Like, plant-based diet would, could help take away a lot of the issues for starving human beings on the planet. It would help save the environment, save animals, save us as people. There are multiple reasons as to why this is a wonderful movement. So yes, we're at a weird phase where we're defending really sick stuff. So we've got to be sick to be defending that, and I think that's what we have to face. That we're mentally ill. Which, I don't see mentally ill as that odd person that calls me up and says I need help. And I help vegans and animal activists because they seem to come to me. I don't really promote and look for it, but they're the people that will come to me for help. And the funny thing is, I see them as the least sick people on the planet. They're probably closer to the truth than anyone. They just need some strength and reassurance and guidance as to how to really deal with this situation, how to understand their minds. But overall, I think it would be fair to say that, we're verging on a species of psychopaths, and a psychopath, by definition, is someone that can't feel for others.
Yeah.
And it's starting to look like humans struggle to genuinely feel for anything beyond their self. Even their love for so-called a friend or something. How real is that really? Isn't that, as soon as the friend doesn't do what they want, the love disappears very quickly. So is it ever really love? So I guess I'm digging deeper into trying to find out, come on, humans, let's all get together and get real with each other. Let's just face it. I know it's not a pretty picture, but we've got to face this. And
definitely.
or there won't be a future. There won't be a future for your kids or their kids, or let alone generations beyond that. And our leaders, they're doing nothing to face this. They're not talking about it. They won't address it. All they'll talk about is terrorism and economics and stupid shit like that really doesn't help us get an understanding of what's happening in the world. They're always blaming someone else, blaming the other party, blaming another country. So for me, these conversations about, can we start getting honest with each other? Can we at least start that process? Because if we don't start talking honestly to each other, what hope have we got? Very little. And obviously, I feel you're someone that is on a journey of honesty and a journey to keep facing the truth of things. But we got to get real about what we currently are. So how do you feel about facing the fact that, maybe we are psychopaths? Maybe we are by our own definition.
Oh, quite possible. I mean, I think human beings are becoming more and more self-absorbed. I mean, you only have to go through your Facebook newsfeed and there's a million selfies. Everyone's posting selfies of themselves. I mean, we're in a very, very self-absorbed society. Extremely self-absorbed. Everything's about how can I be recognised, how can I be seen and whatever, without stopping to look at the big picture of what's actually going on in our world. And I agree with you. There is going to be no world left. I only did a post on Facebook this morning. I looked at a palm oil investigations picture and it was all the deforestation. And I said, this is going to be our world. There's going to be nothing left for our children's children. It's all going to be gone. And I tried to post it on the human perspective, guys, there's going to be nothing left for humans. If you don't want to look at it on the animal perspective, if you don't want to look at it on the environmental, just look at it on a human perspective. There's going to be absolutely nothing left. We're going to go. That's it. It's going to be the end of this world because the world cannot keep going the way it's going. There's going to be nothing left. There's going to be nothing left for people to eat for a start because how's it going to keep going?
That's right. It can't, can it? It just can't. Even on a purely logical level, take out feelings, take out all that, logically do the maths. The equation is there to be seen. Yes, I 100% agree. It's like, this is why, we need to stop looking to politics for the answers or to business for the answer. And I think this is where people need to rise up and we've got to make this change. And yes, they have control over us, right? These people that somehow sanction death and murder and abuse and disguise it as something beautiful, they do have the power because they have police forces and laws. And if you break those laws, even if those laws are stupid as hell, you can go to jail. Even if you're a great person that's done good your whole life. Like if I try and break in to save animals that are being abused from a puppy farm or something, I'll be seen as the guilty one as far as society is concerned. So we kind of have to almost just abide by the laws, but not in a submissive way, not because we think it's right, not because we agree with the government, because there's no point creating a revolution where we're going to fight against what is, But I think we have to stand up and get a lot stronger about building this new world that we're talking about. You know, we've got to lead it ourselves, and we've got to lead that as the people have to lead it. And they're not leading it in opposition to the government or opposition to the police force or opposition to the armies. We're just leading something without opposing anything is, I think, the key. But the only way that's going to happen if we get real about where we're coming from. And I don't think we've truly identified the true nature of our existence yet. Because you must find this working with people. You can't move forward until you face the truth of where you're at. So if you've got a deluded idea and say, no, I'm this, but you're actually that, but you're trying to move forward from here, you can't grow. You can't move forward. You'll be stuck where you are for eternity. But if you face this truth, even if it's ugly, that what you've become as a person, or you've become bitchy or nasty or mean or whatever the case may be, as soon as you face it, you're no longer it in many ways.
Yeah.
So this is why I think we're not progressing in any real way, because this is why I think the vegan movement is having, there's division within the vegan movement, let alone outside of it.
Division's dreadful.
That's right. So therefore, I think, we've got to get more real about us, all of us, vegan, not vegan. What difference does it make, really? We're all human beings, and we've got to face what we are, or we're not going to grow. All this hard work will be for nothing. All the hard work you're doing, I'm doing, and all the other thousands of wonderful people in the world that are really giving up their lives to make up for the lack of what the masses are doing is going to be for nothing. And the insanity and the tsunami of ignorance in the world is just going to swamp us. And let alone the psychological damage. How you're talking about, there won't be food and too many people, not enough resources, and the way that we consume things is insatiable. What about the psychology of it? Where our thinking's getting more fearful and more disturbed and more self-obsessed, which means we're more insecure. There's going to be a global psychological breakdown one day where the fabric of society will fall apart because we are going to fall apart. And this is real, and I can see it happening. I can see people are getting worse and worse and worse. Week by week, you're starting to see changes. When you watch the media, the world is changing very quickly. And as I said, the leaders are doing nothing. They're ignoring it, probably because they can't see it. I don't think they're deliberately ignoring it. I just don't think they can see what we're talking about. But yes, I think there's an understanding that's required. And I think what you brought up is very important about, I don't want to believe that we're bad. But at the same time, let's not even call it bad. It is what it is, right? So it's not good or bad. We didn't deliberately be nasty. Like, we grew up on a planet where there's just animals all running around eating each other, including us. So we had to survive, right? So we've got to look at that, and we've got to now say, okay, but now it's time for the next phase of human existence, which veganism is obviously a key element of the future of society. A plant-based diet is obviously the way to go. So what is it, do you think, that we could do to get more real about what we are? I mean, do you feel you're real within yourself? Do you look at yourself as deeply as you're looking at others, for example?
Do I look at myself the same way I look at others?
No, it's deeply. Meaning, do you see it as important? A bit like Michael Jackson's song, Man in the Mirror. If you want to change the world and make it a better place, then take a look in the mirror. And simple words, but very true.
I think definitely we always have to look at ourselves, and I think as a vegan who is trying to promote veganism to the world and get to as many people as you can, and change as many people as possible's mindset and help them to evolve. I think we've got to constantly look at ourselves in the mirror, look at ourselves and say, is the approach that I'm taking working? Am I turning people off vegan lifestyle? Because it can be, we've got so much power nowadays with social media. What we post can either, post, or what we say to someone, or what we leave out, or, a video that we make, or how we teach somebody. That can go two ways. It can either have somebody say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this. Or it can have them say, wow, this lifestyle is amazing. I want to get on board. And I think it's important to keep assessing the way that we move forward in our own lifestyle and how we are as role models of this lifestyle. And I mean, I class myself as a role model, because if you're putting yourself out there and saying, you know what, I live a vegan lifestyle, this is the lifestyle I believe as human beings we should be living, this is the only way this world's going to evolve. We have to be very careful how we put ourselves out there. So, yes, I think we do need to look at ourselves in the mirror constantly. I know sometimes that I've at times I think I haven't handled situations as best as I should, and I reflect back and I think, you know what, maybe I could have approached that person a different way, or or should have I been promoting it a different way? Was I too harsh? Was I this? And just reflecting different things that I do, and also looking at the way that I treat other people, whether they're vegan or not, because I think if I have such an angry approach to veganism, and you see it throughout the vegan community, there's a lot of angry vegans, and I get it. I understand why, and I think until you are a vegan and living in this lifestyle, you can't understand the anger, and we all know why. We're all angry.
Okay, well, how would you explain then, right now, if there was someone that eats animals listening right now that thinks vegans are just stupid, angry people, how would you explain to them so they understand where that anger is coming from? So they don't see it as a rational insanity, but actually something coming from a real place.
I think the reason why a lot of vegans end up so angry is they're hurt. Once you've seen what's going on in this world, and I think a lot of vegans, we continue to look at footage as well. We continue to look at what's going on in the world. We continue to see more and more. We see the constant cruelty that's going on, and we see no change. And there is absolutely no change. And you see person after person, closing their ears, blocking their eyes, and you end up angry. And you say, you know what, human beings, I hope I can say this word, but they do get to the stage where they say human beings are assholes. Why are they this way? And the anger's there. I think that's why they end up angry, because they want to be able to say to people, just go this way, and they're not sure the right way to sort of approach it with people.
So they're not wrong, are they?
No.
They're not wrong,
not at
though.
all.
So this is what we were saying earlier. People are nasty and mean and selfish. That's the truth. And it doesn't matter how you cut it. It doesn't matter what angle you spin it or how you try and soften it up. Human beings are abusing in horrendous ways multiple types of species on this planet for our gain and benefit and pleasure and happiness and whatever you call it. Like we do every aspect of our life, we abuse the hell out of them and torture them. And this is where people don't get it. These animals aren't just like brought up on a farm and have a happy little life and killed, because then that would be weird to kill a happy animal in the first place. Like, how do you make sense of that? Oh, I love my animals, but I kill them. Yeah, well, okay, someone needs to stop and think about those kind of statements. But do they really think that people that are employed in these industries treat animals nicely? Like if you work at a slaughterhouse, you're not exactly there because you love animals. So those animals are not just going to be murdered, they're going to be treated in heinous, horrific conditions from the time they're kicked and shoved on a truck to the horrific journey to the slaughterhouse, to the cold, wet, miserable conditions, smelling blood, hearing other animals being murdered, waiting in the lineup for themselves to be murdered. So in what shape or form would someone not be angry if they're facing the truth of that? You know what I mean?
And so
absolutely. The anger is justified, and I think we need to not maybe learn how to bring our anger back. Maybe we need help getting these emotions out so we can find a healthier communication. But I think the strength and the intent behind it needs to stay.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think we have to hold on to that anger. I agree with you, because if we don't hold on to that anger, that's what fuels me.
Well, it gets weird otherwise, doesn't it?
Fuels me.
It gets weird. It gets weird otherwise. Like if you start like soft selling it, then all of a sudden you're saying I care for animals, but you're really putting them on another rung. I care, but I don't care enough to be angry. Well, like if that was your family being abused in that way, you would devote your life to making sure that whoever did that was stopped.
Even if it was their dog.
Even if it was their dog,
Even
yes.
if it was their... Yeah, I mean, heaven forbid, we don't hurt a dog, but you know what? It's okay if we do it to a cow. I don't get it either. And I guess that's where the anger comes from too, the narrow-mindedness of people. People are so narrow-minded. I've quite often said to people, they're talking about wanting a burger, and I you cringe because you don't want to think about it, but I might turn around and say, you know what, I'm thinking about having a dog burger. I'll just randomly say it because just to see if I can get a reaction. And I said it recently to one of my cousins, and she was very angry. She said, how can you say that about dogs? I'm like, well, that's how I feel when you say it about you eating a cow. Because that's what a burger is. You're eating a cow. So yeah, I do. The anger is there because, and I know vegans who aren't all animal lovers, but they don't believe that that any living being should be treated unjustly. And I think a vast majority of vegans are animal lovers, and to know that a living being is suffering such immense cruelty, I mean, it's horrible. I mean, we sit there and we look at, the killing fields, or we look at the Holocaust, what happened there, and people say it's absolutely disgusting. How did we do that to human beings? But we're still doing this. We're treating the animals the same way,
that's
and
right.
It's accepted.
That's right, because the pathways of thought that lead to the Holocaust are the same pathways of thought that allow us to abuse another species. It's no different.
No.
Because that's how the Germans treated the Jews, like they were another species almost. And that's how they do it. They put in another framework, they put it over here, and then they say it's okay to abuse this set of thoughts and ideas and anyone that fits in that. So, we're using the same deluded thinking, but it still brings forth, though, that we haven't evolved as a species. We haven't become kinder. We haven't grown up yet. We're not facing the truth yet. And it would appear no matter what happens, wars, abuse, murders, racism, sexism, we don't learn. We're just not learning. And this is why I'm trying to push the point. Now's the time, right? Because one thing I can tell you, which is why I know this is so important, because in the vegan movement, I got involved quite a while ago, and I was a bit taken back what lack of interest they had in my knowledge and about explaining, giving them the answers they're looking for. So they are stuck in their anger, unfortunately, to the point where they're not even interested in the truth. So they're saying, why are humans like this? And you try and explain to them, and they're not even interested to hear it, which is a shame, right? Because it's time that they really do dig deep, because to face the truth as to why it's like this means they're also going to have to face themselves, right? And that's where we have to grow up. We can't be little children forever. And at the moment, I see planet Earth is inhabited by a whole bunch of old-looking little children running around in suits and dresses and making out that they're all mature. Just because they've got a home and a car doesn't make you mature. Just because you have children doesn't make you mature. A mature human being does not condone death and murder. A mature human being is honest and real and has integrity. So I think we need to push this a bit harder about what it is that we're doing here, and so that anger can get out of us, right? Because the anger is not going to help, obviously, but it makes sense. But it's still energy. Right? And it's energy coming from a good place. But that energy I see is trapped at the moment. The anger is trapped, and it comes out in people either then submitting and getting weak, or they go over the top with their anger, and then they're just putting people off left, right, and center. So somehow we have to release this, and we have to help people release it. And the vegan movement, I feel, needs a lot of help. And that's not a condescending comment at all. I think they're people that have stepped into and faced something really extraordinarily important, and they've had to dig, find that place in their heart and open up to a truth, which means, a lot of people don't realize this about vegans. They're just people who have given up a huge percentage of normal social living, gone without all of that, so they can live a decent life of integrity. So it is a beautiful thing. But they don't know where to go from here, and I can see that. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to grow as an individual within this, and they don't understand it. And we're no closer to understanding why it's like this in the first place. And I think that's the ingredient that's missing from the whole thing. Why is it like this? Why do we behave this way? What is it in us that could even create this weird dynamic that you and I are facing? Because as you have well described, once we face it, at first it's a horrific thing to see. You know,
Yeah.
I almost won't go on Facebook anymore because every time I go on, there's another video of some poor dog being abused or kids kicking a puppy around like a football. Or people have got to get it. This is not just about eating animals. This is just the abusive nature of us as a species. You know, or dogs in China that are skinned alive or boiled alive, for goodness sake. A dog. You know, where does it start and where does it stop? So someone justifies fishing, another one justifies boiling a dog, another one justifies killing a baby lamb, another one says, oh, that's all wrong, but eating this is okay. You know, a cow's meant to be eaten. That's what they're bred for. You know, it's insanity. So I think I think we're nutty as fruitcakes. I really do, and I think the sooner we face that, the better. That the human condition is an insane state, and for some reason, that state of insanity was perfect for survival in primitive times. But that insanity is now becoming to our detriment, and it's like the world needs to be flipped back up the right way now. You know, and I think it's time. You know, it's time. I think we could do it. We've got the technology. We understand the world and how it works, and atoms and how they combine and recombine. If we could purify our own nature, we could use all that knowledge in such an amazing way. And this planet, sitting here in the middle of who knows where, could become the hub of something incredible, something absolutely incredible. But the ingredient missing is we won't face ourselves. And that's why I just think it's the key. And all these topics bring us back to that all the time. I mean, what do you do in regards with working with people on a behavioural level? Did you say that's what you do as well?
Well, I work in mental health, but I also...
Is that in general, or...?
Well, no, I mean, I work with mental health clients. I do that, and I do health and nutrition counselling with people.
Yeah.
And that's probably the one thing that I notice with most people is the change factor. And I try and teach people that we need to change our roots, and I believe that's what needs to be done as well with the vegan move, with our whole world. Until the roots are changed, nothing else will change. I try to explain it like, let's say we've got a lemon tree, and people all of a sudden keep saying, you know what, why do I keep producing lemons? I want to produce oranges. You know, and it doesn't matter what they do. They're sticking oranges all over the trees, and the lemons are still coming through. Well, you haven't changed your roots. If you want to be an orange tree, you have to change your roots in order to be an orange tree. And if you want to change as a person in any aspect of your life, whether it's to become a vegan, whether it doesn't matter if you're changing your religion, you're changing your financial situation, you're changing your career, you want to change just yourself as a person, you have to change your roots, because if you don't change what's deep down inside of you, it's gonna keep popping back up. That what you're talking about, that anger, or the way we are, self-centered, selfish, cruel, all those things. If we can't change that about ourselves, and we delve deep down and see, hang on, what's the root of this? What's the root of me? Then nothing will change.
No.
And that is one of the things that I teach people that I work with. You've got to change those roots, because if you don't, because people say, how come I can't change my health? How come I can't lose weight, or, whatever? Because you're not changing. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting change. Well, we can't. We have to, until you can break through that sort of brick wall. You're not going to be able to change, and I don't think until, as a world, let's just look at Australia. Until even as a country, people can't start to, break through those walls and start to look and say, you know what, we have got a huge problem here, and let's look at it on the on an animal agriculture way. We have got a huge problem. We've got a massive problem. I mean, there's millions of animals being slaughtered each year. I think in Australia alone, I think we have 800,000 bobby calves a year slaughtered. And, that's a big problem. That's huge. That's massive. And
let's just be clear. 800,000 sweet little babies taken away from their mother and murdered, all for what? So we can have some drink the breast milk of another species.
Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah.
And until people can start to really delve down and say, you know what, I don't need dairy. Really look at that roots, because look, I mean, you look at it in I think it was the 1960s. The dairy had everyone so brainwashed. They were bringing around milk to the schools. So, you had to have your dairy, you had to have your calcium. That indoctrination's huge. So that's full-on stuff that needs to be, change the way people are thinking, because people are thinking, oh, but I need milk, my bones and whatever, not to mention, what dairy can actually do to your body. But, to be able to change that thinking is what is required let's just look at our own country, in our country, in order to have change. The government aren't going to do anything about it. They've got no interest in doing anything about it. So it's up to us as individuals to be out there sharing and spreading this message, but helping people to understand. People need knowledge. People need to have access to knowledge. And I know I said it's 2016. It's there at the click of the finger. People have to have a reason to want to search for that knowledge too. We need to be giving people a reason why they need to be searching, because, I was out with a little old lady the other day. She was 83, and she looked, and there was gluten-free bread, and she said, oh, what's all this? When I used to go shopping, we just bought bread. So when you're looking at those age groups, they've got to have a real reason why they'd want to listen, because they know nothing else but having your, meat and 3 veg and your dairy. So, we look at the younger generation. Yes, we can reach them through modern technology, but there's a lot of generations we want to get to, change from the top. Just because they're in their 80s, it doesn't mean that they are unchangeable. But we need to look at ways where they want to search for that information and they want to make those changes within themselves, because I think change is possible for all people. I mean, you and I have changed our own lives to cruelty-free lives, so it is possible.
Yes.
But we have to have reasons. We have to give people reasons why they want to. I mean, you sit there, and I'm sure you have too, you sit there and you scratch your head and you say, is this not enough? I mean, for me, it was enough to see the cruelty and say, you know what, why? Why would I want to be a part of this? But what more does it need to be for people? Do we need more access to more products for people? Do we need education? I mean, in a perfect world, there'd be education from age 5 at school, and the children will learn, instead of learning that they need to, have milk from a cow, they learn that, we can get milk from an almond, all those different options.
Well, I tell you what I think. My answer is that we need, like, the level of strength that you're talking with right now is what's required. And, that's not anger, it's just strength. And it's strength. And I think we've got to get real about what we are as a species. And yes, we do function in a conceptual space, and we build our identity and our habits and who we are as a person. And the older we get, the harder it is to change that, because it's been functioning in that limited way for so long. So, and I can tell you, like, with my work helping people, I don't help them just by, yes, I'm very loving and caring and understanding and supportive, but I still have to be extremely strong. And you can't budge. You can't waver. You can't show any sign that this is a debate, because it's not a debate.
No.
Otherwise, two things are going to happen. Either the world's going to wake up, or we're going to divide and find out there are good people and bad people, right? Yeah. For real. So if we all as good people stand strong in defense of these poor innocent beings that are being abused, like, I live near Portrush Road in Adelaide and watch all the poor, chickens and jammed into tiny little boxes and their little heads sticking out, and pigs coming by and sheep constantly, all day, every day. So these people that live in their fancy little homes can just shove their face with these dead bodies. So for me, I talk to the truth of what I'm saying. Just because they can't see it, I'm not going to come down to their level.
No.
That's insane. That's me being like weak. So I'm asking them to come to where they need to be. And I'm not setting a standard that's my standard. I'm talking to the truth of what is. And I, as a man, will stand in that truth. Just like when I was a kid at school and we had this, my parents thought they were doing me a good thing, sending me to one of the top colleges in Adelaide. And, it turned out to be one of the worst schools on the planet. And, and we had the worst bully on the planet. It was an orchestrated monster, effectively, that got pleasure out of, abusing and hurting and hitting people and intimidating people and whatever. Now, just like I said no to them, I would say no. And it wasn't like a debate. Look, let's debate this. How about you just hit 3 kids today and not 10 like you normally do? It's a no completely. You know what I mean? And this is where the vegan movement's so wishy-washy.
I know.
If we just all said no, this is it. Family, friends, everyone, no. And I don't mean in an angry way we're telling people what to do. From within ourselves, we need to make that stronger stance. And I think it's our own insecurities and weakness that are getting in the way of that. Our own personal, we still, even if you're vegan, you still need to be liked. You still want approval. You still like your friends to like you, whether they eat meat or not. We don't want to lose all that. And I think that's where it gets nuts, right? Because for me, get over yourself, right? The world's about to be destroyed. We're on the Titanic. It's hit the bloody iceberg and it's sinking. You don't go to the bar and dance and order a whiskey and try and pick someone up as if it's not happening. It's like, wake up. And that's only going to happen if we're strong and clear and precise and don't wishy-washy it. And when people wishy-washy it, bring it back to the truth. And then, so you don't debate with their wishy-washy argument. Oh, no, you just straight away come back to the truth. And if that person won't hear, we'll then keep going to someone else that's got a little bit more ability to listen, we'll listen. And then we can spread it and change it. And those defiant ones will eventually have to change, right? Because they'll be the minority eventually. So for me, this is a strength issue. This is come on, vegans, you found something beautiful. Now let's get together and help each other get strong and talk with the level of strength that's necessary. Otherwise we're seen as little weaklings that are just going to back off, and advertising agencies are treating us like we're weak. The media treats us like we're weak. They're like treating us like we're little nobodies they can walk over the top of.
And other vegans treat us like we're weak. If you stand up and stand tall and say, no, this is unacceptable, it happens within our own community. And the vegans say, oh, but you can't say that. You're a militant vegan. You're turning people off. You can't do this, blah, 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 blah. And they just want to sit on the fence back to being Switzerland again, and it's like, if
Switzerland.
it's not for
trying to stick oranges on apple trees.
Absolutely. And we have to stand up. And I think as a vegan community, we need to stick together because united we stand, divided we fall. And if all of us are standing up and we're saying, no, this is no longer acceptable, we don't want to accept it, do you know what a stronger force we would have?
Oh.
Instead of people saying, oh, yeah, but we don't want to upset anybody.
Oh, seriously, I think we could shake the world up in a year.
Yeah.
And get all the money in, right? Pull the finances, get advertising campaigns, flood the media, flood social media, flood it all with truth in a hardcore united way where we stop this thing where we've got to say the right thing or I don't want to offend anybody. It's ridiculous. To not want to offend somebody's feelings in the face of what is going on to these animals, to me, is a joke, an absolute joke. And I'm not doing this to offend anybody. I'm doing this because it has to be done. What sort of man would I be if I turned my back on these animals? What am I as a person? And for me, there is no choice. And so there's no choice to speak strongly and clearly. Like at the Vegan Festival this year in Adelaide, I'll be intrigued how I am taken to because I plan to talk like this. I plan to give them a little bit of a wake-up call and say, this is all very nice. We're running around celebrating. What the hell are we celebrating?
Yeah.
What, we're celebrating because there's a few more vegan restaurants and some pizza shops have vegan food, which is wonderful, right? But that's happening.
Great.
It is great, of course, and it encourages and it makes it easier for people to become vegan. And I support everyone out there doing that. We need that force out there, spreading veganism into society. But while that is happening, if we don't get people standing up talking strong as well, that are keeping us on track and uniting in the strength of the message that we're saying, and we should never forget these animals for 1 second. They're all people. They're all individuals. You know, they may not be people in a human sense, but there's a person inside everyone that's shit scared, feeling pain, lonely and terrified, and they feel it just like we feel it.
Of course they do.
And this is happening all day, every day, right around us. So I think, you know, rather than having a festival where we're running around celebrating, I think it should be a festival, a wake-up call. And if they can't take to that, then we've really got to start questioning what the hell's really going on again then. You know, we've got to keep looking at the truth and think, well, if even vegans aren't prepared to stand up and get real, then who is? You know?
I am so glad you've brought this up, David, because I went through this about 6 weeks ago. I was very upset. There was a cafe that's opened up, and they're supposedly a plant-based vegan cafe, but they were selling milk, and I got so upset about it, and I wrote a massive post saying, vegans, why are we accepting this? Because people were saying it's really good because we can bring our friends in there and it's a good way to get non-vegans in. And I said, why are we using the milk of a cow to bring people into the cafe? I don't understand it, and I got very upset about it. Everyone, you're a militant vegan, you're doing this, you're doing that, bang, bang, bang. And I was like, what? I said, are we vegans or what? Why are we sitting on the fence on these things?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if we can't bring this forward into our own vegan community without them getting upset, what hope do we have with people who aren't vegan? And this is a serious, and to me, I said, but dairy is no different to me to the pork industry. If they were serving bacon, would we have the same attitude?
Yeah, let's serve bacon to bring in the meat eaters to our vegan restaurant.
Yeah, but it's
insane.
Okay. Yeah. But it's okay to have dairy there. And I was so angry. And I mean, a few vegans who think like me, you know, prop me up, back me up and whatever. But the amount of vegans, and I've never been back onto this forum again. It was a Adelaide's vegan forum or something. And I've never been back on there again because I just thought, what are we? What are we as vegans if we can't stand up to the truth? And the truth is the dairy industry is a very cruel, callous, cold industry. If we can't stand up to the truth in our own vegan society because, we might upset someone and it's great, I just want to have food. Veganism goes far more than what we put on our plate. I mean, it should be every part of how we think and move and behave. And I was just thrown back, and I was very angry this day. And I mean, angry beyond angry. I said the F word quite a few times. I was so angry. I said, what is this? I said, is this Adelaide? You know, and my cousin who's a vegan, she's in Melbourne, but she's from Adelaide, and she said, Adelaide, you know, they're so behind the times. You know, she was very good. She calmed me down because I said, I just am so angry. I said, I have been in debates many times, you know, discussions with omnivores and explaining different things with them, but I didn't expect it from the vegan community. And that was a big thing to me. I said, whoa. I said, and that's when I realized we've got big issues because we've got so far to go because we haven't just got the mindsets of the omnivores to worry about. We've actually got vegan mindsets that need to be changed as well because they are happy to sit there and be Switzerland. I mean, look, that's life. We're always going to have those Switzerland people, but I don't believe we should be lukewarm on anything. Either be hot or cold, but don't sit on the fence. No. I can't stand it, you know. And that for me was just wow. So I'm looking forward to your speech at the vegan community, vegan festival, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it will be taken too, because Adelaide needs people like you coming forward.
Well, because to me, let's see if at least we can get one city up and running on the planet. You know what I mean? That's how I'm looking at it. Sure, we could focus on the whole world, but let's do a test. Let's just find out, are people actually interested in this for real? Yeah. You know what I mean? Becoming a vegan is a step in the right direction, but how real are you getting about it, or are you still wanting? Because otherwise, we're like changing our diet but living the same way. You know what I mean? We're not really changing it. We're still compromising for financial gain, or so our business succeeds, or whatever, just on a lesser scale. So the compromises may be less, but it's still happening. And compromise is compromise. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but when one thing I teach people, which goes against normal counseling or human behavior teaching, or particularly in relationships, they say the key is compromise. Whereas to me, compromise is the destruction of life. It's the stupid thing that we should never do. It comes from fear and insecurity in a relationship with a partner or a child, or dealing with other vegans, or dealing with all of society. Why compromise? You don't have to compromise. If you're on a journey of truth, there's no need. Let's just say I put out my truth, and then someone listens to me talking in an honest, open space, and then comes back and then can give their truth. Then growth can happen. So they're not fighting me or telling me I'm wrong. No one has to compromise. Compromise is taking something away, and there's no need to take anything away as such in the sense that people are imagining. Because if it's compromise, then you're not saying the truth. You're not really feeling it. It's a bit like there's no compromise in giving up meat. There's only a compromise if you're not really facing the truth of it. Because if you face the truth of it, then it's gone. Who would want to eat dead bodies knowing they've been abused and all that kind of stuff anyway? Not in the truth. Yeah. So this is what we need, and this is what is essential. And it's not easy, because we've got to deal with our own lives. And yes, in the vegan world, I got a shock too, because I got attacked severely in the early days, and people writing weird posts saying this David Coles guy is up to something. We don't know what he's up to, or he's trying to get money out of people. And I'm like, whoa, where does all this sick thinking come from? Because it's all completely wrong. I'm so not about money, it's not funny. I drive around in a beat-up old car and put all my money back into whatever I can to develop and help the world. I'm not up to anything. I'm about as transparent as a person can get. There's nothing about me that I'm hiding or making out I'm this when I'm actually that. So for me, it's like, all right, okay, everyone's a bit stuffed up. But the vegan plant-based diet is essential. I think it's wonderful there are people like yourself that are putting that out there, that it is a healthy, intelligent pathway to go. But ultimately, yes, we've got to start finding some unison in the truth of what we're facing here. And I think we just got to get more real in that stance. And so we're standing together, you know what I mean, looking forward rather than arguing with each other. I think that needs to stop.
I agree. It needs to stop. I think the problem is, and as well, a lack of understanding between a plant-based diet and veganism. What I was saying, my daughter, she posted a 3-minute video, and it just had food that her and her boyfriend had both bought, some pasta and some juices and veggies and tofu or whatever they had in there. And a lady said, "Oh, I eat far healthier than that. I don't have, BPA cans, and my water's not fluoride, and blah 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 blah. My diet far healthier." And I said, "Well, I fail to see what's healthy about eating the flesh of another species." And I said, my daughter's just sharing with people what people can eat on a vegan diet, and this is what she actually eats. I said veganism has nothing to do with a diet, and she was actually quite interested. She said, "You know what? I always thought it was a diet." So people, and diet's such an ugly word for people, especially women who've been on every different diet over the years. The thought of a diet is ugly. I don't want to go on a diet, So I think it's education too, that veganism isn't a diet. And because, there's so much advertisement now, eat healthy, do this, and people don't realize it's an ethical lifestyle. It has nothing to do with, if you want to eat a plant-based diet, healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, sure, that's great. That's great for your health. But you can eat any way you like as long as you're abstaining from putting animal products in as a vegan.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big confusion there. And not enough people who are teaching plant-based are teaching this. I guess for me, I'm an ethical vegan, so it's something that I really like to educate people on. I like to share with people, why I'm a vegan. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, just making sure. I like to share with people why I'm a vegan and the importance of being a vegan. Sorry, Walter.
Water. Walter. That's not what I was expecting to hear. Hey, Walter.
Walter, he's a little old dog and he never gets playful. But of course, today he's decided to get playful. That's what would happen while he's not getting my attention. So I think it's important for, people who want, I think it's great people teaching plant-based nutrition. It's what I do. But we have to go one step further as people teaching plant-based nutrition and teaching people about the vegan movement as well. It's essential.
So how would you then, if I said to you, what is a vegan then? Describe that to me.
I think a vegan is somebody who makes an ethical stance against using and abusing or exploiting animals in any way. We're not using them for entertainment. We're not using them for clothing. We're not using them for food. We're not using them for medicine. We're not using them in any part of our lifestyle. We're not using them for breeding. I mean, the list goes on and on. What we get, people say, is it okay that I buy chickens, so I can have the eggs? It's not cruel. And ultimately, of course, it doesn't look cruel because the chicken's in the backyard. You've let it roam free and it's having eggs. But where did the chicken come from?
That's right.
And that's what people aren't looking at and seeing the big picture, because, someone might say, but I've got a big cow and I'm just squeezing its milk out and I'm just taking that little bit that I want. Obviously, no, it's not cruel like the ones that are, attached to apparatuses and that. But where did that cow come from? Have you just, as long as we keep holding on to these sort of values and whatever, we'll never, ever, ever enforce what a vegan should be. I think a vegan should be as much as possible not exploiting animals, and when I say as much as possible, there's times I'm treading on ants by accident, and that's what it's things you hear from people. Oh, but you tread on an ant, you're not a vegan.
Sure, yeah.
Look, in a perfect world, we're not perfect, but as much as possible, we are not to exploit animals. They're not there for us. They've got as much right to be in this world as us.
Look, let alone the fact that we need to face the fact to think any other way is soul-destroying and ridiculous, and that feeds the insanity, obviously. Anyone that says no, abuse and murder is justifiable on any level whatsoever can't be directing us down a healthy pathway. Like our world leaders that, like Obama, who, may be an intelligent, articulate man in his own right, laughed and joked when confronted on animal welfare and said, I love my meat and I love my barbecues. So, we can't have people like that are so blind leading this planet. We need people that are prepared to look at anything and everything, openly and honestly. So if someone comes along with information, they should instantly absorb that and go, if they didn't know, well, then take it on board very quickly because it's real. And I think with the vegan movement, I think when you described a vegan, to me, it represents a human being standing in a place of honesty, integrity, and compassion. And then from that place, of course, you see what's happening to the animals, and from a place of strength, honesty, courage, and compassion, you say no to that. I think where the vegans perhaps need to open their parameters is they need to now maintain that stance with their entire life. Because otherwise what happens is we maintain that I'm a vegan when we look at the animal cruelty, but suddenly you're not a vegan when you go to your work, and then you're not a vegan when you're dealing with your partner or your family members or your friends. Suddenly all the compromise kicks in, and I think that's where it's got to stop. So I think if a human being just stood in that, what a vegan is, permanently, then it would lead to a plant-based diet. You'd effectively be an environmentalist, you'd be a human rights supporter, you would be, open to anything and everything that is going to expand and open up our world in a bigger way. So we sit in a greater truth. So to me, that's what a vegan is. Because often, like I've had people say to me, I remember once I was interviewing Nick Xenophon, the politician,
oh, wow.
and he said, oh, well, obviously you're a vegan, right? And now I think back, what I would have liked to ask him is, can you, before we go any further, what is a vegan?
Yeah.
What is that to you? Because you've made a pretty broad statement there, oh, you're a vegan, like, oh, that's what you vegan. No, I'm just a person. I'm just
Yeah.
a guy who looked at the truth of life, what led to me doing something that is what a vegan represents. That's all. And I eat a plant-based diet because that's the only healthy, true, decent diet that I can possibly eat. But I think, we need to get over this, oh, you're a vegan. So I think it's very important what you brought up for everyone to understand, and even for vegans to think more deeply about what it is, because a lot of them are very new to it. Some have maybe been in it a long time and a bit stuck there maybe and haven't thought enough about what that really is. But I think we need to get clear what that says about us as a person, and to make sure we're being true to that all the time in every aspect of our life, everything we do, everything we interact with. It's essential.
I totally agree. And I think people have to have that conviction as to why they are vegan, because if people are just doing it for dietary purposes, which it's a big trend, vegan has become a trend.
Yes.
And I often say to people, look, veganism goes far more than cow shakes. It's not about cow smoothies and breakfast bowls. It goes far, far more than that. Great if that starts bringing someone into, opening their eyes a little bit, perfect. But it has to go far more than that. But I tell people, if you truly want to stick to a plant-based diet, people say to me, I want to do it for my health, I want to be healthy. And I say to people, if you truly want to stick to a plant-based diet, you have to have a conviction to be vegan, because in order to stick to a plant-based diet, as soon as you have a slip, next thing you know, you've got a sausage in your mouth or whatever, But if I had a slip off my plant-based diet, the worst thing I would go and have is a vegan burger. That's the difference. So I'm not going to be doing anything with cruelty. I might go and have a vegan ice cream, or buy some vegan junk food, or something like that. But I'm not harming any animals.
No.
But the minute you start putting that dead flesh back in your body again, that addiction will take place, the cravings will take over, and next thing you know, you're sitting down to 3 meals a day with meat again, or animal products. And that's the way it happens. So to have that deep conviction as to why you choose to be vegan is so essential in order to be successful on a plant-based diet. And that's one of the main things I bring to people. And it's probably because I'm an ethical vegan and I don't want people reverting to eating animal products that I try so hard to, teach people about what's going on in the world. It's essential. And not many plant-based nutritionists are doing this, not enough. And, it might cost me a few less clients along the way, because people might say, wow, she's a bit forward. But the point is, the truth is there, and it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you hide from it. It doesn't matter if you walk away from it. The truth is there.
That's right.
None of us can take that away. The truth is there, no matter what. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've been blocked on social media pages from people and whatever, because I won't back down from what I believe in. And I think it's so important that as a vegan, and this has got nothing to do with plant-based nutrition, as a vegan, we must stand up for what we believe in. And I often tell people, if people say, wow, you're so passionate, you're so strong about it, I'm a voice for the voiceless. They can't talk. And it's up to me, it's up to you, it's up to all of us in the vegan community to stand up and be a voice. And if we're not a voice and we're not educating people and we're not teaching people, how can we ever expect change?
That's right.
And it's so important. We've got to stop being Switzerland. And
that's right.
I won't be Switzerland, and I know you won't be Switzerland. And
we have to be transparent in that too, I think.
Yeah.
Like me, we have to be prepared to be challenged as well, in a way where, like I said, I won't debate on these topics, but I have to be open that if somebody sees something in me or in my behavior or thinks that I could improve or grow, then if I'm not open to that, then that's when I become a hypocrite, asking the world to change and not changing myself. So I think that's the key, as long as it's got that flow. So it should be a constant flow, like we're actually doing good for each other, that we're helping each other. And sometimes love and help needs to be strong. It doesn't always come from hugs and saying sweet, loving things. That is part of it, obviously. But sometimes love is expressed with strength, and sometimes you've got to be tough with people to help them because they don't know they need help necessarily, or whatever the case may be. Look, Jade, I think that's a wonderful time to kind of bring this to a conclusion, unless there's something else you'd like to say. But
no.
But I think
we've had a long discussion.
It's been a long discussion and a good one. And I love your passion, and I love the truth that comes out. And that's the kind of strength, that I encourage others, just watching the way you speak to not, and that's not blind. It's strength that is always open to growth. And I think that's the key. Because then it's not bulldozer strength. It's not strength that's trying to make people the way we want them to be. It's strength that's actually opening people up. And I think you represent that. So thank you for everything today and your time. And I'm sure we'll probably cross paths at the Adelaide Vegan Festival.
Oh, I hope so, David. I hope to meet you there. And the only thing that's constant in life is change, and hopefully we can all change for the better.
That sounds brilliant to me. They just got to know what that is first. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely. Right. No, thoroughly enjoyed talking to you this afternoon, this morning, now afternoon.
Yes. All right. Well, look, thanks very much. And maybe down the track we can do this again one day and see how far things are progressing or changing, and, do an update.
Sounds wonderful. Lovely. All right. No worries.
See you later.
Thanks, David.